Hey, you have Ben Meiselas here with Alexandra Kazarian, renowned criminal defense attorney, civil litigation attorney, leader at Garagos and Garagos. How you doing today?
I'm good. It's cold in the office, but I'm good.
So one of the things you told me, which I found very fascinating, that I think some of our viewers don't know, is that you were in court today, right?
I was in criminal court in the Norwalk courthouse. There seems to be a bit of drama there because there's an emergency order allowing criminal courthouses to be open and to call criminal cases that are either felony arraignments or felony preliminary hearings, and that's it. But they're open for all kinds of stuff. So
And as far as you know, is that criminal courts throughout California? Is that LA County? What's going on?
that is LA County. Well, actually, the Chief Justice of the California Supreme Court entered an order allowing courts to continue all criminal matters for 30 days. But I guess it was actually an advisory. It's not an order. So some courts have been taking that advisory, and with that emergency advisory, have been shutting down the courts for 30 days since she ordered or since she released that advisory. But there are some courts that are just saying, no, it's okay. We're all right. We're going to call everything.
What was
So
it like? What was it like in court today? I mean, was it chaotic? Was it crazy? Was it everybody in their face masks?
no,
No
I was
social distancing? Everyone's just spreading corona in the courthouses?
a little bit, yeah. I mean, there's notes on the walls that say everybody stay 6 feet away from each other. And then I know that the downtown court, there's still some courtrooms that are open. They've closed most of them. Their policy is to keep all the doors open so nobody has to touch anything. But in Norwalk today, doors were closed. People were touching everything. Nobody had masks. Everybody was hugging each other. It was
So
chaos.
basically, everything we're hearing about social distancing and what you're not supposed to do, that's all going on in the criminal courthouse as we speak. And so all of those attorneys are congregating, potentially spreading the virus, then going back around and potentially spreading it to the rest of us.
You heard it here first. Yeah, that's what's happening.
Got it. Got it. Well, I wanted to definitely hit that point. So there's a bunch of stuff in the news I want to pick your brain and criminal expertise on. The first thing I was reading yesterday and last night is the Lori Loughlin college admission trial. It's set to go to trial in October in Boston. I think it's Lori Loughlin from Full House, her
Yes.
husband, 13 other families in that Boston proceeding. One, I was shocked this thing is still going on. I mean, this feels like it's taking forever. Like, what the hell is going on there? And the headline was she filed this motion saying that the government engaged in this gross misconduct for not turning over documents. Is that true? And what do we make of all of this, Alexandra?
The fact that they filed that motion is true. It does allege egregious prosecutorial misconduct. And the motion itself is a little bit interesting because Lori's attorney is a former AUSA who knows the prosecutors well. So it's not usual for a former AUSA to accuse the office of egregious prosecutorial misconduct. But that's what they're doing. We would not call this a nice filing. It's very nasty. And yeah, the allegations are that, well, they're not even allegations. The facts are that the government withheld notes and recordings from the informant that they were using. And the informant is the person who created the recordings that are being used against the defendants. So the evidence in the case are recordings of phone calls that Lori Loughlin and the other defendants had with Mr. Singer. I forgot his first name.
Yeah, I think it's Ricky Singer.
Yeah, that's right.
Ricky Singer saying in these notes or these recordings, the government's coercing me. These weren't really bribes. These were legitimate donations that I was telling the people. And they're saying that you basically deep sixed, right? Those
Right.
notes.
He was saying, he was telling the government, I told these defendants over and over again that the money was actually going to the school. And they told him, you need to get on the phone and you need to lead them into a conversation where they admit that they knew that it was going to the coaches and the directors and that this wasn't kosher. So he was on the phone with the Lori Loughlin in one particular instance and said, made allusion to the fact that the coach was getting the money. And there's a point, the motion states there's a point where she says, wait, hold on, I'm sorry, I'm confused, and asks her to clarify. And Mr. Singer is saying that the government is telling him, stay vague about that, because we need these recordings to prove our case.
So what do you think is going to happen?
If that's the way the recordings really come out, I think it's going to be a huge problem, because you cannot defraud somebody if you didn't know about the fraud, if you weren't in on the fraud, and if she is confused about where this money's going and is being told by him that it was kosher and that there's nothing untoward about this. I think the government's going to have a really big problem. There's also another allegation that I think is fascinating, that at one point, one of the defendants realized that while they were on the phone, Singer was using not a school phone line. It wasn't a phone line that he usually used. And the defendant said, what number is this? This isn't your normal number. Oh no, I'm sorry, I take it back. He said, why are you calling me from your cell phone? And he recognized that it was his actual cell phone. And Singer says immediately, you need to hang up the phone immediately. And the reason that happened was because the government was giving him burner phones to call so that they could record and monitor those recordings. And so it wouldn't be on his personal phone and it wouldn't be discoverable, so that it wouldn't accidentally be sent in with all the discovery that they would get when they're just requesting all of Singer's phone calls. So that's also a huge bombshell that I think is going to be very problematic, because why would you ever need a separate phone line that you are trying not to mix in with discovery if you're not trying to hide evidence?
So the consequence of this motion is that the case can be dismissed soon?
If the judge believes that this is egregious prosecutorial misconduct that jeopardized the constitutionality of the case, then yeah, the judge could order that the case be dismissed against the remaining defendants, and it could allow for the defendants that have already pled to withdraw their plea.
Got it. Now, moving on to another case or cases that I'm seeing that make absolutely no sense to me, which are completely horrible, are these terrorist threat cases. I saw a Missouri man who was apparently, was he licking the different things at a Walmart? And then you have a New Jersey man who was coughing on people and saying, I have the coronavirus.
Yeah.
First kind of observation, they're both men. And any comment there?
On the fact that they're both men?
They're both men.
Not surprising at all. I'm not surprised that in a time of utter panic, guys are finding a way to be so hilarious in their own minds.
So terrorist threats, what does that mean? What's the sentencing? What's the charge? And are these people going to jail for a long time? I think our viewers think these people should go to jail for a very long time, making light of the coronavirus and basically making people panic by believing that they have the virus for their sick humor.
Well, it's funny. Terrorist threats is one of the only strike in California that you can get on your record that doesn't actually involve any physical contact. If a husband or a wife just punches their spouse and creates, real damage, that is not a strike. But if a random person tells another random person, I'm going to kill you, or, something that scares them, that's a strike that can be included in the 3 strikes law and make you go to prison for the rest of your life. A criminal threats case could be a felony. I believe the sentencing range is 2, 3, 4, which means you could get 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. The judge can also give you probation if they think that's appropriate. And in order to be convicted of criminal threats, you have to communicate a credible threat to a individual, a particular person, and it can be communicated through electronic means. So I think here, if you're licking if you're coughing on someone, let's go with the guy who actually face to face was with someone. I believe the clerk at the store said, stand back. And in response, he moved forward, coughed on him and said, I have coronavirus. I think you've got a little bit more of an argument from the prosecution that he intended to scare this particular person and did something that really invoked fear. That could even be an assault. It could even be a battery if there was spit that landed on that poor clerk. So there's exposure to a number of different criminal charges there. The Instagram video or the Instagram video of the guy that just went and licked, I don't know if it was soap or if it was toothpaste, but he just licked a whole row of plastic containers. That one I'm surprised that it's gone as far as it has. I think he had his arraignment and he's going to go back to court in May. Hopefully in May, everything calms down. He's not, in the media and he can get his case resolved. But in that particular case, his attorney's argument is that the recording was actually made a few days before the CDC stated that the coronavirus was a worldwide pandemic. And licking a bunch of bottles, although disgusting, wasn't the terrorizing event that it was once it hit the internet and once everybody saw it. People that were complaining, I think that are considered victims in the case, were from all over the world. The Netherlands, I think every country had somebody calling in, reporting this thing, saying that they were scared. So I don't think that that's as strong of a case, because posting something onto the internet that we actually have no idea when that video was actually made, and saying that somebody in the Netherlands is affected, there's not a close enough nexus there. I think that's a bit too attenuated.
The overall message here being, if you think that this is funny, it's not. You are a horrible human being for doing this. And not only are you a horrible human being, you can go to jail for a very long time. It's called terrorist threats. And this has implications far beyond the public scorn and ridicule, which you so deserve, but you also will likely serve a jail time if you do these moronic, stupid, horrible things.
Yeah, as a criminal defense attorney, sometimes I think that the public scorn that you get is going to be punishment enough. In this particular situation, I think you need to be removed from society, because you are making the world less safe if you are doing stupid things like this.
So tell me, just wrapping this up, tell me about right now your business, how the coronavirus, your criminal defense practice. You open for business, you're criminal defense lawyer at Garagos and Garagos, one of the most well-known criminal defense firms throughout the country, if not the world.
Right.
People still calling, the phone's still ringing during these crazy times. And if people have a criminal issue, if they've been arrested, can they still reach out to you, and how would they go about doing that?
Absolutely. We're open for business. As long as the courts are open for business, we're open for business. I'm sure even if the courts close, we're going to be open for business. We're here in the office every day. We're getting calls. Not only are we getting calls on new cases, because even though people seem to think that the cops aren't arresting people, they absolutely are. Serious and violent cases are still being prosecuted. They're still being arrested. People are still needing to bail out if they're arrested. We're getting calls about DUIs, which actually I think are increasing because there's so few people on the road that if people are driving, suspiciously, they're getting popped immediately. So definitely we're still getting calls. You can call us at any time.
How would someone reach you? If they want to call you, where do they call you? What number do they use? And
our office line is 213-625-3900. You can call at any time. People are always welcome to call. I don't know if I should give my cell phone number out.
Okay.
But,
yeah, you don't need to give your cell. You don't need to give your cell number.
But you can always email us to at I think firm@garagos.com. And
here's another question I think people want to know. So you have 2 kids.
Yeah.
You're in criminal courts every day. You're battling the home front, keeping everybody safe. You're battling in the courtroom for your clients during this crazy corona pandemic. I mean, how are you holding it together, and what advice do you have to other people who are out there who are in their own battles, both at home and trying to create this work-life balance during this pandemic?
I think I'm lucky because I am coming to the office every day, so I'm not sitting in my house quarantined, and I'm not the one homeschooling my kids. They started today, and it is just from the clips that I'm getting from my mom, it's just absolute madness. So I think people, if you can, if there's a way for you to just separate yourself inside of your house and get some time to yourself, work out, have a glass of wine, just have a little bit of peace and quiet. I think that's really super important. Keeping yourself stress free as possible. Try not to watch too much news because it's changing every single day, and we really don't know from day to day whether we should be panicking or whether everything's going to be fine. But for me, it's nice because I get to come here, I get to do work, I get to help people, and I get to go back home and just hang out with the kids. I'm still eating everything that I shouldn't be eating.
What's your quarantine guilty pleasure? Haagen-Dazs chocolate chip for me.
I've been vegan for 4 months, and I can't stop eating carne asada nachos. So
Vegan carne asada nachos.
no, they're not vegan. I am not. I am off the rails right now, so I need to get back on track.
Got it. Well, you deserve some time to be off the rails. Alexandra Kazarian, criminal defense lawyer, mother, jack of all trades. Thank you so much for being on Midas Touch. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ben. It's my pleasure.
Have a good one.